Hunger is a universal experience, something that touches every community, no matter how vibrant or close-knit. It's a challenge that doesn't discriminate, affecting people of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life. In the heart of our nation's capital, and in neighborhoods just like yours, the struggle to put food on the table is a daily reality for far too many. For millions of Americans, the question isn't just what's for dinner, it's whether there will be dinner at all. The faces you see in these lines could be your neighbors, your coworkers, or even your friends. SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, serves as a vital support system. It helps low-income families, seniors, and people with disabilities afford the groceries they need to stay healthy and strong. For many, it's the difference between going hungry and having a meal. SNAP isn't just a handout, it's a hand up. It offers dignity, hope, and the chance for people to regain their footing during tough times. It's about empowering individuals to make choices for themselves and their families. With SNAP, parents can provide nourishing meals for their children, seniors can maintain their health and independence, and people facing hardship can focus on getting back on their feet. It means families can gather around the table, share a meal, and find comfort in each other's company, even when times are tough. SNAP gives children the nutrition they need to learn and grow, and helps parents focus on building a better future. When we support SNAP, we're not just helping individuals, we're investing in the health, stability, and future of our entire community. No one should ever have to make the impossible choice between paying rent and buying groceries, or between keeping the lights on and feeding their family. SNAP benefits are loaded onto a simple card, giving people the freedom to shop for healthy food at local stores and farmers markets, just like anyone else. This program is built on trust and respect, recognizing that access to food is a fundamental human right, not a privilege. But now, SNAP is under threat. Policy changes and funding cuts in Washington, D.C. could put this essential lifeline at risk for millions. If these changes go through, families who already struggle to get by could lose the support they depend on. The impact would be immediate and devastating. This isn't a distant problem or someone else's concern. It's happening right here, in our own neighborhoods, on our own streets. The people who rely on SNAP are our friends, our neighbors, and members of our community. They are facing an uncertain future, and they need our support now more than ever. We must pay attention and raise our voices, because the well-being of our community is at stake. Every action counts, and together we can make a difference. The time to act is now. Let's stand together to protect SNAP and ensure that no one in our community goes hungry. It's October 28, 2025. The federal government has been shut down for 27 days. Without a budget, critical services, including SNAP, are grinding to a halt. In just days, 42 million Americans could lose their food benefits. Families who budget every dollar will suddenly have nothing for groceries. The USDA warns, without congressional action, November's SNAP funds won't go out. Food banks are already overwhelmed as federal workers and SNAP recipients seek help. The demand for emergency food is skyrocketing, but resources are running out. This isn't a natural disaster. It's a crisis created by political inaction. The food is there, but the will to help is missing. If leaders don't act, children, seniors, and families will pay the price. In Washington, D.C., 141,000 residents depend on SNAP every month. These are families, seniors, and children who rely on this crucial support to put food on the table. For many, SNAP is the difference between a full pantry and going to bed hungry. In a city known for its monuments and power, there are thousands quietly struggling to get by. For them, the shutdown is a direct threat to their ability to eat. As shelves grow emptier and prices climb, anxiety spreads through neighborhoods. Parents worry about their next meal, and seniors wonder how they'll stretch their benefits. The uncertainty is overwhelming, and the fear of hunger is real. City leaders face a tough choice. Let residents go hungry or spend $29 million of emergency funds to cover SNAP. The decision weighs heavily on every official, knowing that either path comes with serious consequences. The city council debates late into the night, searching for a solution that won't leave anyone behind. That money is meant for local emergencies, roads, schools, disasters, not federal responsibilities. Using it for SNAP means delaying repairs, cutting back on school programs, and risking the city's ability to respond to future crises. Every dollar spent now is a dollar that can't be used elsewhere. Mayor Muriel Bowser urges Congress to act, saying the city can't bear this burden alone. She stands before cameras, her voice steady but urgent, calling on federal leaders to fulfill their responsibilities. The mayor knows that without help, the city's most vulnerable will pay the price. DC is preparing for the worst, but its resources are limited. Food banks brace for a surge in demand, volunteers work overtime, and city staff scramble to find solutions. The community pulls together, but the scale of the challenge is daunting. Local governments can't fund massive federal programs indefinitely. The strain on city workers is visible: long hours, tough decisions, and the knowledge that their efforts may not be enough. The city's financial health is at risk, and the pressure mounts with each passing day. The well-being of over 100,000 people hangs in the balance, just blocks from the capital. The contrast is stark: federal power within sight, but local families facing hunger. The stakes are high, and the outcome will ripple through every corner of the city. The pressure is immense and time is running out. Every hour brings new uncertainty, and the city's leaders know that a decision must be made soon. The weight of responsibility is felt in every meeting, every conversation, every sleepless night. DC leaders are caught between protecting residents and risking the city's financial health. They debate, they worry, and they hope for a solution that won't force impossible trade-offs. The city's future and its people's well-being are on the line. It's a heartbreaking dilemma with no easy answers. Every face in the crowd, every story shared, reminds leaders of what's at stake. The pain of these choices is felt deeply across the city. The city's strength is being tested like never before. Yet, in the face of adversity, DC residents show resilience and unity. Neighbors help neighbors, and volunteers step up to fill the gaps left by uncertainty. The outcome will affect the entire community. What happens next will shape not just the city's finances, but the lives and futures of thousands who call DC home. As the standoff drags on, the USDA refuses to use emergency funds for SNAP or reimburse states that step in. Local governments face a risky choice: help their residents and blow a hole in their budgets, or do nothing. Some say the USDA has funds to cover part of the shortfall, but the administration disagrees, citing legal limits. The blame game is in full swing. Each side points fingers, but families are left in limbo. While politicians argue, millions wonder if they'll have food next week. The shutdown is causing a cascade of crises, from small business loans to military pay. The disconnect between politics and people's needs has never been clearer. The most vulnerable are paying the highest price. The government's job is to serve its people, and right now it's failing. Urgent action is needed to restore trust and support. The shutdown is a regional crisis, and states are responding differently. Virginia's governor declared a state of emergency, using state funds to keep SNAP going. Maryland's governor, with a large cash reserve, refuses to spend it without federal guarantees. DC is caught in the middle, weighing which path to follow. The result? A patchwork of support. Your access to food may depend on your zip code. SNAP is supposed to be a national safety net, not a lottery. The shutdown has shattered that promise, leaving millions uncertain about their next meal. Local leaders are forced into impossible positions while families wait for answers. Food banks are on the front lines, facing record demand as SNAP and federal paychecks disappear. These organizations were never meant to replace a program as large as SNAP. If 42 million people lose benefits, food banks will be overwhelmed overnight. Community leaders are calling for donations and volunteers, but goodwill alone can't fill the gap. The math doesn't add up. Food banks can't meet the need if SNAP fails. SNAP is America's first line of defense against hunger. When that line breaks, the whole emergency food system is at risk. Food bank staff and volunteers are heroes, but they can't do it all. They need the federal government to act so they can focus on true emergencies. The system is stretched to its breaking point. Leaders across the region are sounding the alarm. Mayor Bowser says, "We need the federal government to do its part." Maryland's Governor Moore warns, "There's no balance sheet to make up for when the federal government just tells states, 'You're on your own.'" Advocates call this a man-made disaster, not a natural one. Senate Minority Leader Schumer calls the SNAP freeze callous, cynical, and unnecessary. These voices reflect the gravity of the crisis and the urgent need for action. The question, will words turn into solutions? Millions are waiting for leadership. Amid the crisis, some companies are stepping up. DoorDash is waiving merchant fees for food banks and pantries, helping them stretch their resources. It's a small but meaningful way to support those on the front lines. The private sector can't replace SNAP, but it can help ease the burden. Calls are growing for grocery stores and other businesses to donate surplus food. Private charity is a patch, not a solution, but it shows our shared humanity. In dark times, these acts of kindness matter. We all have a role to play in helping our neighbors. We're at a crossroads. 141,000 DC residents and 42 million Americans are at risk. These aren't just numbers. They're our neighbors, our friends, and our families. Every day, more people are forced to make impossible choices between paying for food, rent, or medicine. The stakes have never been higher. This isn't about politics. It's about people, children, seniors, and families who need support. Imagine the stress of not knowing where your next meal will come from, or watching your child go to bed hungry. These are the realities facing too many in our community right now. SNAP is a vital thread in our social safety net, and we can't let it unravel. For millions, it's the difference between hunger and hope, between despair and dignity. When SNAP is threatened, the very foundation of our community is shaken. Local leaders and food banks are doing all they can, but it's not enough. They work tirelessly, but the need is overwhelming. Without strong federal support, their efforts can only go so far. The real solution is federal action. Pass a budget and fully fund SNAP. Our lawmakers have the power to make a difference, but they need to hear from us. We must remind them that food security is a basic human right, not a privilege. Now is the time to raise our voices. Call, write, and demand action from your representatives. Every message, every call, every signature matters. Together, we can make sure our leaders know that we won't stand by while our neighbors go hungry. Food should never be a political weapon. It's a necessity, a right, and a foundation for a healthy, thriving community. No one should have to fight for their next meal. We must speak up for those who can't. Our voices can amplify the needs of the most vulnerable, ensuring they are not forgotten or left behind. Let's meet this crisis with compassion and unity. When we come together, we show the true strength of our community. Every act of kindness, no matter how small, makes a difference. Check on your neighbors, donate if you can, and support businesses giving back. Even a simple gesture can bring hope to someone in need. We all have a role to play in building a more caring and resilient community. Our nation's strength is measured by how we treat the most vulnerable. Let's be the generation that chooses empathy over indifference and action over silence. Now is the time to stand together. United, we can ensure that no one is left behind, and that every person has the food and dignity they deserve. No one in our community should go to bed hungry. Together we can make a difference. Let's stand up, speak out, and support one another until hunger is a thing of the past.